So hey anime fans, the series name is What If Naruto Got Harem with Xiaolin Shadow. So let's start the series. Breath in, breath out, force all outside distractions away and calm the storm in your mind, a blonde youth thought wearing a god-awful set of orange clothing as he meditated on the bed in his team's bedroom for the remainder of the second exams. Since the first day of the second exams they encountered Orochimaru, who placed the Gogyo Fuin, 5-element seal, on him while placing a curse mark on Sasuke before fleeing. The Umbu who followed him into the forest gave them the set of scrolls needed to pass and placed them at the gate, much to his disgust. He knew that if they had been any other team, not only would they have been failed for the exam due to the Umbu's intrusion, but the kid with the cursed seal would have been placed in a cell to be monitored to determine if he was a flight risk. After the three were brought to the tower, Kakashi confronted them asking what happened as they told the events that transpired. As yet Naruto was the sole being who was berated for costing the lives of his team, going so far as to call him a disgrace to the shinobi way while praising Sakura for doing absolutely nothing and Sasuke for being a chicken shit until the last minute as Orochimaru played with him, while going as far as to say it was Naruto's fault Orochimaru came after them in the first place. He took Sasuke to seal the curse mark while saying Naruto's punishment was to deal with the Gojofuin for the remainder of the second exam, maybe the entire exam should he feel obligated to remove it. Sakura, despite her years of abuse, felt genuinely concerned for the blonde he fought to save both of them, yet he was being punished when he should be receiving thanks instead, and thought back on all the times he was there for her since the academy on to receive pain in exchange. Going into the shower he bathed, rinsing the dirt and grime off himself. As he walked back into his room shedding his towel, he pulled a scroll from his pouch, releasing the contents, showing an all-black bodysuit that clung to his frame, showing his muscles with a long zipper from the waist up to the neck and gray chaps which were secured in the front, as the two belts fastened over the other in an X form on his front. Over the knees he had a belt on both legs with two belt straps built into the chaps to tighten them, and a pair of black Umbu-styled sandals with Umbu leg guards on under the chaps. On his upper torso he had a long-sleeved red jacket that had a yin and yang symbol on the back, with two black Uzumaki spirals on his shoulders, with the hood drawn over his head blocking his face from view. On his arms he had a pair of Umbu-styled arm guards with a black fingerless glove. On his hips he had one large pouch that the medic ninja used to carry his abundant special kunai, all obsidian black in color and other materials. On both legs he had two holsters for his various shuriken with seals on both his pouches to hold more kunai, shuriken, ninja wire, various tags of his own design and more to last him. Hearing a knocking on the door he released the seal on his person. As light burst in the room he said, "What is it?" On the other side his teammate Sakura responded, "The other genin are at the fighting arena. It seems there's an important announcement and I was sent to get you." Smiling he grabbed 3 more scrolls and placed them in his back pouch as he tied his headband around his eyes. "I'll be right out, go on ahead Sakura-chan." "Okay Naruto-kun, but you better be there. I don't want Kakashi-sensei to give you another punishment. You are well, right?" she asked, making him smile slightly at her concern. "I'm fine Sakura-chan, no need to be worried. Now get going. I don't want Hatake team to punish you for some idiotic reason," he said, causing Sakura to run as he heard her footsteps fade down the hall. Looking at the full-length mirror he sighed, saying to himself, "Let's do this Uzumaki show them hell." Vanishing into his shadow as it rippled out of existence, with his former jumpsuit lying on the floor discarded, destroying his first linchpin as the dobe of the Konoha 12-00 preliminary stadium 00. Easing from Sakura's shadow he crept next to her as he was thankful for the fact that they were in the far back, as Sakura looked out of the corner of her eye to see a hooded boy next to her appearing from nowhere in the middle of the Hokage's speech. "Naruto-kun," she said quietly, making the boy pull the side of his hood slightly, showing his whiskers which were now block-like, before letting the side block the new whiskers while he put a gloved finger to his lips as if to make a shushing noise as they returned focus to the Hokage as he finished his speech. As Naruto noticed 2 cloaked figures on the balcony with the Hokage, a jounin who looked rather sickly said, "If you don't mind, cough, Hokage-sama, I'll take over from here. Nodding to Anko, the woman ripped the tarp off the wall by the statue of the fingers, forming a hand sign to show a large LED screen as he said, ****. Now before the first fight commenced, does anyone wish to withdraw? Kabuto raising his hand much to his confusion. Before he could say anything, the two cloaked figures tipped the Hokage off, making him subtly form a sign which both Anko and the sick Xiaolin caught. As soon as the door closed behind him, he was captured. Now the first match of the preliminary rounds will now commence. When your name shows up on the board, those are the two that will fight, the others will go up on the balcony, Anko said as the Genin's names roulette on the screen. Going through all the names, it slowly stopped at Sasuke Uchiha vs. Yoroi Akato. Alright brats, if your name isn't up on the board then your asses better be on the balcony. Anko shouted as the Genin soon gathered on the stairs, with Naruto sitting on the floor meditating, much to Sakura's shock, while the others were confused on who he was while a few knew who he was. Watching the fight, Naruto tisked seeing Sasuke use a bastardized variation of his friend Lee's secondary lotus, letting him win the fight, but he knew Sasuke and Kakashi relied on the Sharingan, and that was the only reason he won this fight, because he copied that move. Watching Sasuke come up the stairs, Kakashi quickly grabbed him as they shunshined away as Naruto noticed the Oto Genin sensei follow not too much later as the names rolled on the screen again, showing Zaku Obumi vs. Shino Aburame. Looking at the Sound Genin, he saw the boy's arm was in a sling, making him wonder why the hell he was fighting and what caused the injury in the first place. But to say the least, during the second fight Naruto was rather impressed on Shino's part, avoiding those waves coming from the holes in Abumi's wrist while subtly sending out his clan's insects to clog them. When he got him talking, Naruto knew the fight was over when his arms exploded, bringing the match to a close as the screaming Sound Ninja was picked up in a stretcher. The next round was between Choji Akamichi vs. Dosu Kinyuta. And to be honest, the fight wasn't all that interesting and rather anticlimactic to say the least. Dosu commented on his weight, pissing off the Akamichi, who lost due to Dosu using those gauntlets on his arms to vibrate the water in his body, knocking him out. As usual, he liked the Akamichi's drive, but he has to work on his temper if he wants to get anywhere. Most of the fights ended how Naruto suspected they would. Shino being the antisocial boy he was didn't need to do much, and nobody knew what to expect from him since they only knew that he and his clan used bugs. Nothing else to say on the matter, but he felt should he branch out with different insects or arachnids the boy could be a serious contender, especially with some being venomous. Sasuke in his eyes since the beginning had no skill besides a decent taijutsu and jutsu, but with his Sharingan he felt the boy couldn't really get any farther because he's far too arrogant to be worth anything with a hair trigger at that. One mention about his clan or his brother, he goes off into a blind fury. He knew how to analyze and plan for each of his opponents. The last Sound Kunoichi stared at the screen as the names stopped showing. It read Kintsuchi vs. Shikamaru Nara. Naruto thought, this could be interesting. With Shikamaru he has a fixed area to work with and plenty of light to pull of his shadow possession jutsu, although the same could be same for that Kin girl and her bells. If Shikamaru wants to win this, he's got to be careful and get her in a corner. Watching, he felt his shoulder being tapped, making him turn to see Sakura asking quietly, Naruto-kun, what's with the change in clothes? Shrugging, he said, my old jumpsuits were a little too small on me, so I pulled this old thing out. I only got this one pair and 3 others, so I decided to wear it for something important. Why? A blush formed on her face, saying, I just think it's a good look, is all, makes you look more professional and mysterious. But where did you get it? Subtly pointing to the Hokage, he said, it was a gift to me on my 16th birthday, but I wanted to wait until I could surprise everyone. Watching Shikamaru manipulate Kin into banging her head on the wall, he couldn't help but snigger, trying to control himself from outright laughing at the unconscious Sound Kunoichi's expression. What surprise? Sakura asked curiously, making him grin, bringing his face close to her ear as he whispered, it's a secret. She almost face-faulted as they watched the next two fighters' names list off until she gulped as it read, Sakura Haruno, vs. Ino Yamanaka. Right now Naruto wanted to curse Kakashi for not doing anything to prepare Sakura for a fight. Some taijutsu training, ninjutsu, anything could have been useful at this point. Even the chakra scalpel would be very handy at this point. Turning to Sakura, who was afraid, he put his hand on her shoulder saying quietly, "Don't let it get to you, Sakura-chan. I'm going to give you a pep talk and some sound advice. Here's the pep talk." Seeing her relax slightly, he said, "Face forward, Sakura. That which blocks your ears is worthless fear. The enemy is one, you are one, there is nothing to fear, so cast it off. Go forward, never stand still, retreat and you will age, hesitate and you will die. Be strong, Sakura, I know you can do this, just have faith in yourself, not the Uchiha ego-boosting Sakura Kakashi thinks you are, or the weakling fangirl Sakura Sasuke thinks you are. Not even the badass Sakura I think you are, but have faith in the Sakura you know you are." She straightened herself. Now her clan focuses on the mind with their jutsu. Once she does that, you have a split second before she overshadows you. All you have to do is pressure her, and once she makes that hand sign, go either to the left or to the right and the fight is yours. I believe in you. She smiled before heading down to the arena floor with some tools in hand as stood across from the smirking Yamanaka, making Naruto smile under his hood. Give her hell, Sakura. 00 Arena floor 00. Who was that, Sakura? Your looser boyfriend. I noticed none of your teammates are even here to cheer you on. Guess they decided to bail on the sinking ship, Ino said, watching Sakura looking over the items in her hand before pocketing them into her pouch. Don't worry, he's not your problem, Sakura said, getting into a stance. 00 Play low by sleeping with sirens 00. And as for my sensei and team, I don't have to worry. I'm not the Uchiha ego-boosting fangirl Kakashi thinks I am, I'm not the worthless fangirl Sasuke thinks I am, and I'm not the badass Naruto-kun thinks I am. I'm not relying on them to save me anymore, she said with conviction, tying her headband around her forehead as Hayate started the match. Running forward, she started the fight by tossing several shuriken with a smoke bomb mixed in as Ino blocked the shuriken, missing the bomb until the area around her was covered in smoke, allowing her to charge in. 00 stands 00. Hey kid, who are you? Naruto heard as he turned his attention to the others with Asuma speaking. Pulling out a piece of paper, he wrote, "Who I am is none of your concern until it is necessary." Narrowing their eyes, Kurenai asked, "What did you tell that Haruno girl?" She seemed to have more confidence than before. Again writing, he said, "Just giving her a much-needed pep talk. The positive reinforcement method works wonders." "But what did you say? And where is Kakashi?" Guy asked as Niji tried to peer through his hood with his Byakugan, but to no avail. "I just told her that she needs to have faith, not in the pointless ego booster Kakashi thinks she is, not in the pathetic Kunoichi Sasuke thinks she is, or in the Sakura this Naruto boy thinks she is, but in the Sakura she knows she is and could be. As for Hataki, I would guess he's already started training Sasuke for the finals," the paper said. "Why? What about Sakura or Naruto for that matter? Did he teach them anything during the team formations?" Asuma asked with the genin, just as curious. Shaking his head, he wrote, "No, he didn't. He let Sakura do her job as the ego boost Sasuke constantly needs and doesn't do anything to get her motivated in training. For Naruto, he feels like he doesn't have to waste his time on the dead last and considers him a disgrace to the shinobi way, teaching him nothing either, yet he continued to demean him. In fact, Sasuke is the only one he trains since he only got Naruto and Sakura because the exams require a team of 3 to participate. He at least taught the 3 of them something before all this, right?" Kurenai asked again. "Teamwork exercises for a half a month, and in the middle of a C-rank mission he taught them the tree walking exercise when he was injured facing Zabuza. And when training is complete, he secretly teaches Sasuke more advanced jutsu and taijutsu, the last paper said as he turned his attention on the fight, watching Ino get tossed through the smoke with Sakura charging after her, giving her a kick to the chin, lifting her off the ground as Sakura ran up the wall, delivering an axe kick to the Yamanaka Arisa's stomach, causing her to hit the ground. 0-0 arena floor 0-0. I'm actually doing it. Sakura thought, reaching into her pouch, pulling out a pill which she swallowed as she felt her chakra surge, making her put her fingers into a cross. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Sakura announced as 2 additional Sakuras burst into existence, much to everyone watching shock and Naruto's amusement. What the? Ino stammered as she prepared her only known jutsu, forcing her existence into one of the 3 Sakuras, hoping it was the right one. 0-0 stands 0-0. Well kid, whatever you taught her is pointless now. My student won this fight, Asuma said, getting over his shock that the weakest kunoichi did a B-rank kinjutsu and not die from the use. Naruto however wrote on the pad, I wouldn't count those chickens yet, Sarutobi-san. Wondering what the mysterious figure meant, he followed where the boy was pointing as one of the Sakuras walked over to Ino's down form and started placing explosive notes on her body. If you don't forfeit now, Ino, you can kiss your body goodbye, Sakura said, shocking the others as they watched her raise her fingers to detonate the paper before Ino announced her forfeit, making this fight count in Sakura's favor as she removed the tags, allowing the clone to dispel, letting Ino get back into her body. 0-0 song ends 0-0. Sakura came running up the stands as she hugged Naruto. Thank you so much for the advice. He simply waved his hand from side to side with another note. I didn't do anything more than tell you what Kakashi should have told you from the start. You did the work. Sakura, who is this? Is he a friend of yours? Shikamaru asked, getting a nod. Yeah, but he doesn't want me to say who he is until it's necessary, but trust me, you'll be surprised when you find out, she said, looking at the screen feeling fatigued as it showed. Tenten Higurashi vs. Sabaku no Temari. Naruto was rooting for Tenten, as was her team. Well, Guy and Lee were. Tenten because the 2 of them were childhood friends, along with Lee before Tenten was adopted by her father and Lee was taken in by Guy. They were practically related, the 3 of them, and he hoped she came out alright, but knew otherwise. Tenten aspired to be known as a weapon mistress and to master every weapon there was as well as make them. But the downside to this was she didn't have any ninjutsu to fall back on, or even genjutsu. Sure, her taijutsu was decent, at least chunin, but against Temari her odds were so slim they were practically non-existent. The only thing she could say she knew besides taijutsu was fuinjutsu, and she got him started on it when they were orphans, and true to his fears, he was right, as the entire fight was rather one-sided from the start. Every time she threw a weapon, Temari blasted it away with her fan, and to make matters worse, she couldn't do anything to turn the tide. As she got caught in Temari's whirlwind, she was about to have her back meet Temari's fan when Naruto caught her looking down with a bit of killer intent. He wrote, "You've already won the match, don't add insult to injury." Jumping back, he vanished in a blaze of fire to return next to her team as he put her down, with Lee coming to him saying, "Thank you so much for saving Tenchan, Stranger-kun." Rubbing the back of his head, he thought, just like Tenten, Lee hasn't changed in the slightest. Writing it down, the note said, "No worries, just don't go too overboard when it's your turn." Walking past the sand team, he put a note in Gaara's hand that the team read, "If I were you, One Tails, I'd be cautious. Don't want to be killed by the 9-tailed beast guarding its den now, would we?" The 4 were now on edge as the being in the Gaara's head told him to be very afraid of him, as if he was a being that transcended the tailed beasts or even that of its brother Kyubi. "What's the matter, Gaara?" Temari asked as he retold them what Mother said, making the others even more frightened. As for the Ichibi to be so struck with fear to actually want to avoid conflict with him, something that transcended the 9 tails, was something they didn't want to chance. Making his way back next to Sakura, she pointed to the screen as it read, "Sabaku no Kankuro vs. Misumi Tsurugi." This was a fight he didn't need to plan for with either opponent, but that didn't mean he wasn't impressed with Kankuro's forethought and tricked his opponent by disguising his puppet as himself while operating it from within the bindings to deal with him. So Naruto, what do you think is going to happen next? Sakura whispered as he began writing down on his notepad. I don't know, although me and the two next to the Hokage gave Hinata the boost she needs if her opponent is who I think it is, it said as Sakura looked over at Hinata and saw a major difference to the wallflower everyone knew her as in the academy. Being tapped on the shoulder, she saw the screen say, Niji Hyuga, vs. Hinata Hyuga. As the two walked down, Kurenai gave her a quick pat on the back, which she returned with her usual smile before her features gained a superior smirk that was out of place on the Hyuga heiress's face as she made her decent. 0-0 Arena Floor 0-0. Maybe you should give up now, Hinata-sama, and save yourself the biting humiliation, her cousin said condescendingly, only to receive a snort in response. Maybe you should worry about yourself, Ni-san, or you just might lose to the "Now what did you call me before?" she said in forethought before her eyes gained a dangerous glint to them. Oh yes, the blight of the Hyuga clan. If you're worried, then put your headband where your mouth is. You dirty side branch, Hinata said, getting into a different form, the Hyuga-style taijutsu, after unzipping her lavender and cream jacket showing she had on a fishnet top underneath. 0-0 Play. Congratulations, I Hate You by Alisana 0-0. The crowd was shocked by how Hinata spoke as she carried the usual Hyuga air about her, self-confident, prideful, arrogant. She had all the qualities the main branch held, and she carried that appearance well. The match between Hinata Hyuga and Niji Hyuga will now commence. Heiate said, getting out of the way as Niji had smoke come from his ears, charging at Hinata only to hit air. What? Niji thought as he felt 3 cuts form on him with Hinata behind him in the same stance with chakra discharging off her fingers like blades. What's the matter, dear cousin? Surely you'd have more fight in you than this. And here I thought you were a prodigy. I guess even a brain-dead slug can earn the title these days, she said, infuriating the branch Hyuga more. What is that abomination you're using? That's no Hyuga taijutsu, he said as she scoffed. You see, Nii-san, some time ago my mother, much like myself and her mother, are all born with an affinity different from the other Hyugas. Even my sister Hanabi has a different affinity, she started. When he was about to say something, she jabbed him in the throat, cutting off his voice box. If you'd let me speak, I could get to the point. As I was saying, like her mother who had a water affinity, my mother was born with both a water and wind affinity. She created the 2 styles with the help of a childhood friend of hers, and her son is here in the exam. Me being born with an equal affinity for water and wind, and the assistance of Naruto-kun, and the 2 cloaked figures up by Hokage-sama. During the past 5 days they've been training me, she said, waving to the 2 as they waved back. I won't deny Kurenai-nechan's training helped, but I lacked the confidence to pull it off, worried about what my family would say. They taught me that if you want to survive you have to evolve, and so I did. I shed aside the old Hyuga way of thinking as the 2 up there trapped me in a genjutsu for 5 hours every night while training me in taijutsu with Naruto during the afternoon while creating several jutsu, she said, getting into a stance as Niji charged. And this is one of them, she started before focusing wind chakra into her hands as she spun, thrusting her hands around. Futon, Shugohaku Rokujian Sho, Wind Style, Protection of the 8 trigrams 64 palms, she said as a Niji blasted into the grid-like sphere as they began to grind against his chest before he was blasted off the dome. Stopping her spinning, the dome fell apart as she was in a slight grove as she said to the groaning Hyuga, "Are you finished already?" Getting up, he threw several shuriken which she dodged easily before focusing water and wind chakra into her fingers as the 2 got into a fierce taijutsu struggle. 0-0 stands 0-0. What's going on? I mean, besides Hinata's attacks it doesn't seem like Niji is doing anything, Sakura pointed out as Naruto wrote down. It's because the normal Hyuga style focuses on the chakra points. By using their chakra they hit the points causing damage internally as opposed to externally like normal taijutsu. The style Hinata uses depends on the affinity she puts into it, the note said as Hinata got a solid shot into his collarbone on his left. But what happens with the affinity? She asked as he had a diagram. With water she's causing the muscles to fall asleep and render the limb useless. With wind she can actually do both internal and external damage, internally because with the slightest precision she could go for a kill blow, or possibly cut vital organs or bones if she has the wind pressure high enough. The note read as Niji was now a coughing mess. But how did Naruto know the Hyuga-style taijutsu? It along with various clan techniques are all secret. Kurenai asked after hearing Sakura read the note. The scrolls that get old and worn the clans toss away, and whatever is thrown away is fair game. Besides, no taijutsu is difficult to learn, since the only reason the Hyuga are so good at it is because they use their dojutsu to see the points when they're all transfixed on each point they never change, Sakura read. Meaning anyone with textbook knowledge of the chakra points and precision can do it regardless if they have the dojutsu or no, Asuma said, getting a nod as the shortest cloaked figure pointed to the grounds as Niji fell face first. 00 Arena Floor 00. And that's how the fight ends, Nii-san, Hinata said, walking away as Hayate called the match in her favor as she watched the screen read the next match. 00 End Song 00. 00 stands 00. Yahoo! Come on boy, we got the dobe, an easy win. Hell, he isn't even here, no surprise since his sensei left a seal on him from some snake guy in the forest, hehehe. Now I can show Hinata who the real alpha male is, he said as the board read. Naruto Uzumaki, vs. Kiba Inuzuka. Are you so sure about that, Mutt? Everyone heard as the shorter cloaked figure was seen on the floor. 00 Arena Floor 00. *** name. Hayate asked as he pulled his hood down, letting his crimson red hair with midnight black streaks fall down his back in a ponytail with a large bead holding it with two white bandages holding his bangs. Imagine Indra's hairstyle, as his headband was covering his eyes, which he adjusted to where it was around his neck as everyone saw. He had purplish red lines around his eyelids with the 6 rectangular block-like marks where his trademark whiskers were. Naruto Uzumaki, now what were you saying about me being a no-show? Naruto said, opening his eyes as the room was bathed in killer intent, bringing everyone but the two figures and the Hokage to their knees as they stared at the snow-white orbs floating in the dark spaces with 2 reptilian slits. Loosening up on his killer intent, he said, so Inuzuka, are you coming or do I have to drag you down? He said coldly as everyone saw a large dragon with 9 tails in his place standing at the height of the guardrail of the stands, making Akamaru whimper just like Shikaku was in its seal. Growling, he tried grabbing Akamaru, who was clinging to the railing shaking like a leaf before he bit him, making the air let go, saying, fine, who needs you anyways? Jumping to the ground, he stood across from Naruto, who was holding a scroll in hand, as he said, you've got a smart master, least I can say for the pet. Kiba, grinning up at Akamaru, said, he at least the dobe's bright enough to realize dash. Before he could finish, Naruto cut in, I was talking to Akamaru, you dunce, even he knows this, if a fight you're doomed to lose. As Kiba growled, Hayate said, the match between Naruto Uzumaki and Kiba Inuzuka will now commence. And I'll beat you with this weapon, Naruto said, unsealing a gun with a black center and a bright red rim, while on the left was the Uzumaki spiral in white, while on the right was 3 tomo forming a circle on the right. Well, I'm so scared, an overgrown paddle, what are you going to do, whoop me with it? Kiba asked, getting a snort. Not in so many words, Pooch, but yes, and on a side note, it's not a paddle, it's a war fan, and just so you know, I have several other weapons, but I don't feel that they're necessary against the likes of you, Naruto said as he tossed it at Kiba, who got hit in the stomach before receiving a knee to the chin as he focused Futon Chakra through the fan, creating a small tornado, catching Kiba in the center. Katan, Gokakyu no Jutsu, Fire Style, Fireball Jutsu, Naruto said, shooting a low-powered gray fireball at the whirlwind, causing the flames to grow larger in the center as a flaming tornado was in the stadium. 00 stands 00. It seems Naruto-kun is doing just fine, wouldn't you say? Sarutobi said to the two figures as they removed their cloaks, showing two women with on the right with bright red hair wearing a tattered kimono-style clothing with black shinobi pants and a red obi around her slim waist. She had a vampire look to her with her fangs and green reptilian slit eyes. It would seem so after all we have trained him for how long? Shadow, he was 3 when we trained him, so 13 years this October, the woman said in an alluring voice. I would say 12 years, but I've never been very good with numbers, but you must agree Sarutobi, he's shown tremendous skill, the second said with a foreign accent that had a purr to it some would consider. She was paler in complexion compared to her friend with yellow-green eyes and long dark green hair, with a Taoism headband on her forehead and an armor that was primarily black with red and gold highlights, and her sword at her waist. Thus far I agree with you, but what Sakura and Naruto said is truly disconcerting, he said as the other Leaf Genin Tenten and Ino included came over. Dad, who are they? Asuma asked curiously as they all continued to watch the one-sided fight. These are the two who have been training Naruto since he was 3, Wuya Uzumaki and Shadow Uzumaki, he said, getting wide eyes from the others. Uzumaki. You mean Naruto-kun, you're related to him? Tenten asked, getting a shrug. We're cousins, you could say. You see, our clan before we were whipped out by IWA, Kyumo and Kiri in the Third War were close allies to Konoha since we helped them create the Hidden Leaf Village before we were whipped out of fear. In fact, the symbol all the Jounin and Chunin wear on their jackets and on the civilian clothes are our family symbol until the civilian council, save for your mother Sakura, agreed to tarnish that relationship by removing any and all knowledge of our continent before its fall as a means to spit in Naruto's face, Wuya said with a grin, watching Naruto block Kiba's Tsuga, tunneling Fong, with his gun by. Why? And if that's the case, why were they feared? Sakura asked, watching her teammate absolutely demolish Kiba with efficiency. Well, as to why we were feared is because we had several bloodlines, you could say, one of which was longevity, meaning we don't age as fast as you all do. If at all should we master our other bloodlines, then there's a mastery in any weapon we pick up, Wuya started as she watched Kiba struggle to get up. The third is monstrous chakra reserves. Back then, a child in the academy had the reserves of a Jounin, and by the time they got out were comparable to that of a Kage. And the last bloodlines was a mastery in seals and a special type of chakra that could not only suppress a Biju but also drain the chakra of whatever they touch and give it back to the user, and a special type of reserve called Ryatsu. Shadow finished, getting wide eyes. Was that why Naruto-kun failed the academy 3 times? Because his reserves were so large? And what's Ryatsu? Ino asked, getting a nod. Yes, you see, he's a rare case even in terms of children, since he was born with Jounin reserves already. By the time he got into the academy his reserves grew beyond that of the 9 tails. You see, our chakra is so dense and potent it's impossible to use so little to perform such low-rank jutsu. You can consider it a genetic defect of ours, Wuya enlightened, getting wide eyes from the others. As for Ryatsu, it's the spiritual aspect of chakra. We can use it without hand signs but through incantations, or none at all if you're skilled enough, Shadow said with a grin. Ouch, that one's going to leave a nasty bruise, Shadow added, watching Naruto kick Kiba into a wall. But why was he so bad in the academy if you two trained him? Anko asked, curious about her foxy friend/love interest. We told him to create a cover as a test to see if anyone would find out until the Chunin exams, and it's safe to say he passed. Although, like Sarutobi said, it's a bit disconcerting that his own sensei wouldn't teach him or Sakura anything, Shadow said, frowning before shrugging. It isn't a problem since he could fight Madara and the other 3 Kages single-handedly as is. If you don't mind my asking, Shadow-san, what was that pressure we felt before? Shino asked monotonously. That is his proof of being a master of the Heilin arts and being the descendant of the Dragon of Chaos and Order. Chase Young. You see, the Heilin arts are considered dark, and in all right they are. We can do things you could only dream of. Chase was also known for his ability to transform into a dragon and his use of all the natural affinities in the world: wind, fire, water, earth, lightning, yin, yang, all of them with ease, although you all know him as the Sage of Six Paths, Shadow explained, getting wide eyes. 00 Arena Floor 00. Naruto. Stop playing with your food and show them what a dragon of chaos and order can do. Wuya said, getting a disappointed sigh before Kiba's Tsuga came close. Gotcha. Kiba shouted in glee as he was making contact when the entire arena floor was covered in smoke. 00 stands 00. What did he do? Ino asked, feeling that pressure again from the before as both Wuya and Shadow's eyes gained a reptilian slit to them when a deep growl echoed through the arena. Actually, Kibbles, it is more so I who has you, they all heard when the smoke cleared. A massive black eastern dragon with red eyes and white lines spread across its body like Shikaku, with long horns with 9 tails. It wore Naruto's pants as they formed perfectly to his legs, while instead of sandals he wore bandages around his feet. In his hand was the still spinning drill with Naruto's gunbai in his free hand. Wo, now that is so fucking hot. Enko, Ino, Sakura, Tenten, Hinata and Temari said, while Shadow and Wuya sniggered. Yes, that was our train of thought too when he first transformed. This is the power of the descendant of the Sage of Six Paths, Wuya said as they watched the drill slow down before Kiba was grabbed by the throat thanks to Naruto's tail unconscious. Dropping him, he turned his focus to Akamaru, who was whimpering before Naruto took a claw and scratched its ear, getting a happy bark before laying Kiba on the stands. You're a true friend to this one Akamaru, I just hope he learns it, Naruto said, getting another bark. Turning to Hayate he said, so I take it I won. Receiving a nod, he shrunk down to slightly above his average size of 6 feet 4 inches, making him 7 feet 0 inches even walking the stairs as the match was called in his favor. Standing in front of everyone, he received a variety of looks ranging from awe, love, interest and unrest as he said, what, do I have something on my face? Oh, I don't know, maybe the couple 100 pounds of raw flesh ripping, bone crunching, body searing mass of scales in front of us. Dude, what the hell, Naruto, why the silent man act? Choji said, getting a nod from the others, scratching the back of his head as he sat down. Well, firstly Choji, I'm more so a couple 100 tons when I'm at my full stature, thank you. I only weigh an additional 300 pounds as I am, so I'm 412 pounds. Secondly, it was for dramatic effect. That caused all of them to face fault, thinking, at least Naruto hasn't changed too much. YOSHGAI Sensei, Naruto-kun's flames of youth have their all-time high. If I cannot defeat my opponent in as quick a manner as him, I shall run along Konoha 200 times before midnight. Lee shouted, getting a snort, making both him and Guy turn to see Naruto staring at them. Lee, Guy-sensei, what is I told you about yelling when people are around? Naruto asked sweetly, making everyone shake in fright. The two stammered at once, that it is very unyouthful to do so when they're right here. He gave the two a large thumbs up, causing the Jounin to stare at him before Naruto's tail banged on the wall before pointing to the screen showing Sabaku no Gaara vs. Rock Lee. Yash, it's finally my turn to fight, watch Guy-sensei. Lee said, running to the arena as Naruto chuckled. Still the same old Lee, if anything his excitability hasn't changed in the slightest, Naruto said as Tenten nodded. The fight was amazing to say the least. Naruto knew Lee couldn't use genjutsu or even ninjutsu, so to stand on even footing with others he put his body to the limits in taijutsu. Day in and out he would work himself past the human point, trying to prove he could make it out there in the world as a ninja who couldn't use either form of jutsu except Tai. But this was a fight Lee was not yet ready for. He gave Gaara a warning to not overstep his boundaries as he fought slightly more tame than usual according to Temari and her team, with Gaara being the winner after Lee throttled him by opening a few of the hidden gates and passing out due to exhaustion. As medics as well as Guy, Niji, and Tenten, who said she wanted to talk to him later, left with the medics to check on him, the winners of the fight were called to the arena floor. The Hokage said as everyone had reached the arena floor, congratulations to the 10 remaining fighters of the Chunin exams. As you all know, this was only the qualifiers for the finals, which will be taking place in 4 months. For months, many of the other genin complained save for Naruto, Gaara, Hinata, while Sakura was in slight disbelief. Naruto remembered it was originally 2 months, but to give everyone enough time to prepare and master what they know and learn, they decided to extend the time. So go rest and prepare, for in 4 months you will be tested to see if you have the qualities necessary to advance to Chunin rank. Your opponents will be posted next month, Sarutobi said as they all nodded before Sakura and Ino came by. What's up, girls? Naruto said, reverting to his human form as they shifted. We were wondering if you could help us train. I mean, Asuma-sensei is a good teacher, but he just doesn't really fit what I'm going for, Ino said, getting a shrug from the 2 women while they all looked at Sakura. And I was wondering if you could help me train for the finals. I mean, I know you're going to be participating, but I have doubts Kakashi-sensei would be any help, and I don't even know who I'll be facing until the end of the first month, and I want to show Kakashi-sensei what I'm capable of, she said, getting a nod from Naruto. I can be of help with that, they heard, seeing Sarutobi walk up with 2 chakra papers in hand. What's this, Hokage-sama? Ino asked as he explained the papers' properties and did as they were instructed, and a shock came to both of them. Sakura had a dual affinity for fire and earth, which to Naruto made sense. Her hits hurt like hell, and she had a hair trigger to match a shinobi with a fire affinity, while Ino had a lightning and water affinity too that seemed off to him, but he digressed. I'll inform your parents that you'll have a trainer for the exam, Sakura, and I'll tell your parents that you're getting some additional training for the multi-month break, Ino, so tonight pack your things and be ready, he said, getting a nod from the 2 of them. Oh, Naruto, be sure to give their parents monthly updates so they won't be worried and will know what they're up to. And as for you and Sakura, you 2 are no longer on Team 7 as Sakura, you will be working with Naruto, Wuya, and Shadow, he added, getting a positive from the 2. Although I suspect that Hinata will be with you training as well, if so do the same for her family, he said, getting a final positive before he left. And you 2 be at my house at 6 in the morning sharp, otherwise I'll drag you to my house, he said without warning as the 2 kunoichi nodded before running to their houses as the 3 shunshined away. 00 Naruto's home, room, 00. Ugh boy, does it feel good to take a hot shower in my own home after some years, Naruto said, falling face first on his bed in his large room before he was flipped onto his back with Wuya and Shadow next to him on both sides, all 3 wearing their night clothes. MMHH, yes, it is nice getting to stay in our own bed after so long, especially with you here, Wuya said, kissing his neck, getting a groan while Shadow sat on his other side doing the same while Shadow's hand trailed down his bare stomach before gripping his growing tent. My, it seems someone's got some pent-up frustrations to release, huh? Wuya said, looking down at his straining member, making him roll his eyes at their act as the 3 sat up with him, kissing Shadow's neck while he massaged both their asses. Trust me, you 2 will be helping me relieve those frustrations tonight, Naruto said, using his chakra to trigger the noise-canceling seal. Hearing a knocking on her bedroom door, she heard, Ino, sweetie, didn't you say you were going to stay over that sweet boy Naruto's house to train for the next 4 months? He's standing downstairs waiting. An eye cracked open under her blanket as it darted towards the alarm clock, showing it read 5:45 a.m., making her throw the blankets off her, showing she wore a tank top and a pair of pajama shorts before running to her shower to clean up. Oh man, I gotta hurry, Ino said, throwing her clothes off and getting in the shower. 00 downstairs 00. Hearing her daughter, she said to Naruto, who stood near the stair, saying, I do apologize about my little flower, she's not exactly a morning person, Naruto-kun. He shrugged, whipping a strand of hair out of his face, saying, It's fine, Rose-sen, I intend to fix that over the 4 months, just watch. After this your daughter will be stronger than you could ever imagine. Are you going to give her the news, or should I? She asked, getting a questioning expression on his face before he sighed. I suppose it would depend on the time. I would prefer to tell her after she gets there, since I am a clone. Just give her this, he said when he dispelled in a puff of smoke after giving her a sheet of paper. Mommy, where's Naruto-kun? You said he was here, Ino said looking around wearing a pair of black spandex shorts and a purple halter top with a duffel bag filled with clothes and necessities and another for her shinobi equipment. It seems that sweet boy made a clone to deliver the directions on how to get to his house. It's almost 6. You better hurry, sweetie, Rose said, kissing her daughter on the head, giving her the scrap of paper as she watched her daughter run out the house with a smile. 00 Namikaze Uzumaki Compound 00. This is where Naruto-kun lives. It's larger than the Uchiha compound, Ino said looking at the gates of the compound when it opened, showing hundreds of acres of land with various training grounds and homes with a large dojo to the side. Walking to the main compound, she heard various growls around her in the forest areas, making her get on edge before she saw Naruto walk up behind her with Sakura over his shoulder wearing a pair of pink boy shorts and a halter top, as Naruto had 2 duffel bags for Sakura in hand. Naruto-kun, I'm going to kill you for parading me around the village in my pajamas. Sakura screamed, flailing around before Naruto put her down before he vanished in a plume of smoke. Sakura, what the hell happened to you? Ino asked, walking to her friend as she huffed. Well, it happened like this, Sakura started. 00 Flashback 00. Sakura, get up, Naruto-kun is waiting downstairs, the pinkette heard after shutting her alarm clock off for the 10th time. Mumbling, she said, pulling the blanket from over her head. Long enough, 5 more minutes, Mom, I'll see Naruto-kun later. I don't think he's going to give you that option, her mother said, clearly making the young girl open her eyes to see Naruto stare down at her with a bored expression, pointing to her clock, seeing it read 6:01 a.m. I gave you clear directions to be ready and at my house by 6, and it seems you're still in bed, so guess what? Naruto said with a bland expression. Shaking, she saw her mom pull out 2 bags on her bed, making her say, "WW what? I'm going to have to escort you to my house, Sakura-chan," Naruto said, putting her over his shoulder, getting an eep while he grabbed her bags. Take care of my daughter, Naruto-kun, alright? Mabuki said, getting a nod from him as Sakura eeped as they walked through Konoha in broad daylight, with everyone seeing Naruto walk the pink-haired teen outside over his shoulder in just her sleep clothes, while her face had a permanent blush on her face. 00 Flashback over 00. And that's what happened, Sakura finished looking at her friend when she saw Ino struggle, trying not to laugh before she fell to the ground laughing, making a growl from Sakura. Oh haha, laugh it up, Ino pig, I set my clock late now, can we go in? She said with a blush on her face as Ino got up, wiping a tear from her eye. Sorry Sakura, that was just too funny, yeah let's go in, she said as Ino knocked on the door. As it opened, Wuya was seen at the other end wearing a pair of shinobi pants and a black karate gi with a red lining. Ah, Sakura and Ino, good to have you with us. Naruto-kun is taking a shower at the moment, come in for a moment will you? Wuya said, getting a nod from the two as they walked into the home while they stared impressed by the large home. Reaching the living room, they saw a large portrait showing a beautiful woman with long red hair like Naruto's and royal purple eyes, wearing a pair of black umbu-styled pants with a black turtleneck with the umbu armor on top. She was in the arms of a man who looked like Naruto used to, with blue eyes and spiky blonde hair, wearing the standard Jounin attire with a white trench coat with red flames at the end with the kanji for Yondaime written on the back. She's so pretty, but I think Mom has a picture of her and herself together at the house, Ino said looking at the photo. Yeah, I think Mom does, to buy the door at our house. She's Naruto-kun's mom. She's really beautiful and that man looks familiar, Sakura said when she and Ino jumped from the voice behind them. Yeah, she was my mom's best friend, she helped develop the taijutsu I used. Turning, they saw Hinata wearing a pair of spandex shorts and a lavender sports bra, drinking some tea, with Shadow wearing a similar change of clothes as Wuya, except she had a greenish-blue top. Hinata, they said together, getting an eye roll from the Hyuga heiress who continued to sip her tea. Yes, it's me. You think you're the only one who wanted training from Naruto-kun? Also, that familiar man is the 4th Hokage, and at my best guess is from the photo is they're his parents, Hinata said, getting a nod from the two women. You're a sharp one, aren't you? We're Kushina-chan's cousins, and through a contract Kushina-chan drew up some years before Naruto was born as wives. I think Naruto-kun's mom had some sort of arrangement between your parents, Shadow said, getting a shrug from the others. Oh, you're all here already. I knew I shouldn't have taken a half-hour shower, they heard, turning to see Naruto with a towel around his waist with his upper body still wet, making the girls blush while Shadow and Uya purred. Hey and Naruto-kun, how are you? Sakura asked, blushing as Naruto looked down to see a leopard come in with a pair of umbu-styled pants and some boxers, which he took before petting its head as it walked away, as he slipped them on under his towel before slipped the towel away before drying his hair. You have a wild leopard in your house? Ino asked incredulously, getting a shrug from the three. What? They're bred from the leopards, panthers, cheetahs and tigers in the forest of death. I would say they're fourth or fifth generation, and also they're spread around the compound acting as guards. They're all very dangerous even for shinobi capable of using jutsu somehow, but if you don't show any fear and show them who's the boss, they're as tame as a litter of kittens, Naruto said, scratching a tiger behind its ear, making it fall on its back, purring. See, tame, Naruto said, prompting them to try it, which they did after a moment of hesitation. Okay, but why so many? Hinata asked, getting a shrug. Well, while I was growing up, people tried to do a lot of things to me on occasion, and to stop them I turned them into animals. They're gone now, but they've bred some of the tigers, cheetahs, leopards and panthers that are around here, but that's beside the point, he said, sitting with them at a table in the living room. Now I'm sure you three have quite a few questions of some form, my mother's connection to yours, or why I live in here in the Yondame's compound, or some other question you all may have, am I right? Naruto asked, getting a nod from them as Naruto leaned back on his seat. Well, how about you each pick a question and I'll answer it to my best knowledge, but no, after I answer your questions we're going to have to figure out your training, Naruto said as Uya and Shadow grinned. Looking at each other, Hinata said, what connection does your mom have with ours? I mean, I knew your mom was best friends with mine, but it goes deeper than that, doesn't it? Nodding, Uya said, yes, you see, your parents, or more so your moms, made marriage agreements with our dear Ryukun before you all were born, and with him being the last of the several clans, once the Chunin exam finals come, Sarutobi will reveal his heritage, but for now just know that he is the heir of 4 clans. The three went wide-eyed as they turned to Naruto, who nodded while prompting them to ask their next question, which Ino said, what are we going to do for training? Well, we have 4 months to train, and since we're finances, should you agree, you'd become members of my clan and capable of learning the Xiaolin and Heilin arts, as well as due to some events in the past you will become like me, a dragon, while you gain dragon-like physical traits, one being scales, dense bones and various other effects I'll explain later, Naruto explained, getting wide eyes from the others. But how are we going to learn all that in 4 months when it took you 13 years? Sakura exclaimed, getting a snort from them all. Oh Sakura, one thing the Uzumaki were well known for was our Fuinjutsu. Naruto-kun created a space in the house that is outside the flow of time, where time moves either slower or faster than it would. Essentially every month in the training ground will result in a year basically, Naruto explained, causing their eyes to widen. How is that possible to actually go outside of the movement of time, Naruto-kun? Ino asked, getting a contemplative look from Naruto. Well, to avoid being overly complex, with the use of Fuinjutsu I created a training ground that can inhabit life just like the world and acts like it in a sense, night-day, weather patterns, even the gravity is higher there for physical training, and the like. I even have a compound that we will be using for all of us to stay at. You following me? Naruto started getting nods. Alright, now this is where things get really complex in of itself. There is a technique called space-time manipulation dash, he started when Ino interrupted. Like your dad's Hiration? She said, getting a nod from him. Yes, like my dad's Hiration. With space-time manipulation I put the room at a point where time flows differently with anything and anyone that is inside. Now there is a bit of a disclaimer you should understand, Naruto said, getting a curious expression. You see, with the flow of time it will affect your bodies, so while you're all 16 now, when you go in and come out after being marked, should you accept the marriage proposal our parents wrote up, you will have physically aged 4 years, he said, causing their eyes to widen. So you're saying we will physically look like we're in our 20s? Hinata asked, getting a nod from them. Yes, but do note that the training ground can only be used in 1-year intervals, so tomorrow we go in and come out the end of the month while going in the first of next month and so on. Are you okay with this? He asked as they looked at each other when he heard a knock at the door, making him raise an eyebrow. You all think about it and get back to me. I think it's probably Gigi, Naruto said, getting up when Wuya tossed him a black karate gi with a red belt. 00 at the door. 00. Hearing the knocking, he opened the door as Naruto saw one of the Hokage's trusted Umbu, Nico, as he asked, "Hello Nikone-chan, how are you? You need something from me?" She nodded, giving him a quick hug, saying, "Yes, Hokage-sama wanted to see you, Naruto-kun." He nodded as he reapplied his genjutsu, with his hair growing short and blonde again, much to her amusement, when Naruto's stoic expression changed quickly to his old boisterous persona. "Shall we go, Nikone-chan?" he said with a grin, getting chuckle from her before nodding as she used a shunshin to leave the area in a whirlwind of leaves, leaving the girls to talk amongst themselves. 00 Hokage's office. 00. Reappearing in the Hokage's office, Naruto saw Hiruzen sitting at his desk with Ebisu next to him with a superior grin on his face, which Nico noticed, causing her to pat Naruto on the shoulder before leaving just the three in the room. Sighing, Naruto said, "You wanted to see me, Gigi?" Before Hiruzen could reply, Ebisu interrupted, "Show some respect to your Hokage, you little brat." Rolling his eyes, Naruto said, "You said the same thing, and I will say this: I show Gigi the respect he deserves because I don't use titles because it's disrespectful to the person. Now Gigi, what's up?" Coughing into his hand, he said, "Yes, it seems Kakashi hasn't been seen in the village since the preliminaries and had asked Ebisu to train you for the finals. Yes, he said you had no sense of the basics or political knowledge, so he Ebisu started before Naruto put his hand to the bespectacled Jounin's face. So he decided to fix his failures, since as a Jounin sensei it is his job to help his students, when since the beginning he's done next to shit to help neither me nor Sakura, who also passed the preliminary round without his assistance, while also learning about the fact I had a seal placed on my by Orochimaru that screwed over my chakra control and chose to leave it on me instead of going to the Hokage for help in removing it, while blaming me for Orochimaru coming to the Chunin exams and attacking us unprovoked, as he says he'll have someone remove the seal when he feels like it, should he want it removed at all." He finished, making him stagger back. "And don't let me even ask if he bothered to ask about Sakura winning her match. Or did the pathetic piece of shit just assume since she's the book-smart fangirl ego-stroking meat shield he thinks she'd lose as he hoped, so the people judging the finals only have to focus on one student like he was hoping for me but had to make adjustments? And got you who'd only teach me shit that an academy student knows, which could potentially get me killed during the finals depending on my opponent?" Naruto continued, making him shirk back. "Well, you tell Hitaki this, and I want you to tell him this word for word, got me?" Naruto said, getting a nod from him. "Tell him that he is a failure as a Jounin, a shinobi, and a Konoha shinobi at that. He preaches about standing together and being a team and standing together when he did nothing to show for it. He is a disgrace to the Konoha name and a disgrace to his sensei, his old team, and every shinobi that Konoha produces. Since he finds the fact that he will only train Sasuke so important, then Sakura and we will be fine on our own without his so-called help. We'll be climbing the ranks while he goes around stroking the brat's ego just for him to get bit in the ass." Naruto finished walking away after biting the Kage farewell. "Hokage-sama, are you really going to permit a genin to disrespect one of Konoha's most well-known Jounin?" Ebisu asked, getting a nod from Naruto. Yes, I will, and I do hope you tell Kakashi exactly what he said today and give him this warning from M. if Kakashi is late for the finals and should Sasuke be even a millionth of a second late for his match, he won't be given a second chance and he won't get any special treatment, you understand me? I don't care if he has the entire backing of my shinobi, the clans, the council, even the daimyo. Am I clear? He said with a serious expression, getting a nod making him dismiss Ebisu. Looking out the window he sighed, saying, "You really fucked up, both of you, Kakashi, Jiraiya, and you don't know just how much." 00 Streets of Konoha 00. Who the fuck does Kakashi think he is? To so simply dismiss Sakura and I just because we aren't some brat who solely relies on his fucking eyes. Naruto fumed, walking down the street ignoring the glares until something caught his eye. What the hell is that? He thought, seeing some shinobi jump out of the hospital window with someone over their shoulders, making him narrow his eyes. Ugh, things can't get any more annoying, can it? He thought, jumping to the roof following them, thankful he grabbed his equipment. 00 Namikaze/Uzumaki Compound 00. I'm back, the girls heard, making them turn to the hall to see Naruto walk in with Kintsuchi, making the others raise an eyebrow. Naruto-kun, why is an Oto Kunoichi here? Ino asked as she scooted over from her place on the couch to let Kin sit with her as he sat across from them between Sakura and Shadow. Well, after Gigi had called for me he started, causing Ino to raise her hand. Yes, Ino-chan? He asked as she blushed before straightening up. Who's Gigi? Naruto-kun? She asked, making him chuckle. Gigi is the Hokage, and I call him Gigi because he's like a grandfather to me, he said, getting a nod from her, allowing him to continue. As I was saying, it would seem Kakashi asked for someone like Ebisu to train me in the basics and politics, feeling that would be a better use of my time despite not knowing who I'm facing. It would also seem he didn't have any concern for you, as he didn't even bother asking for someone to train you, let alone see if you won your fight with Ino-chan, he said, causing the girl to put her head down. After hearing that from Ebisu, I decided to have him relay a colorfully worded message to our former sensei, and let's just say Team 7 will be disbanded should we do well, but we have other business to handle, he said, making her nod with a smile which he returned before schooling his features. On a heavier note, it would seem the village is going to be in a bit of trouble that Konoha's renowned spy master failed to inform our Hokage on, he said, getting wide eyes from those gathered. What do you mean, Naruto-kun? Hinata asked, getting a sigh. Well, you see, it happened after I saved our friend Kin-chan here from being kidnapped by her village and used as part of the plan. It seems Orochimaru doesn't just want the Uchiha, but he also wants to destroy Konoha, he said, making Hinata, Ino and Sakura gasp. An invasion? But how do you know that? Ino asked, getting a shrug. Well, let's look at the facts. A new village forms with nobody hearing of it, or their leader. Our only ally Suna sends a mentally unstable Jinchuriki to the village that's been stealing their missions, which caused their economic downfall. And Orochimaru, one of Konoha's most well-known traitors, shows up during an exam just to give the brat a fucking hickey, he proposed, getting a nod from Kin, Shadow, and Wuya. He's right, all of the facts, just don't add to something as trivial as an experiment. He could have done this at any point in time but chose now of all times, and he chooses to kidnap one of his own genin for this plan. Shadow supported as Kin nodded. I already had a summon, send word to Gigi and let him know, and Kin-chan will be under the clan's protection from this point on, the request that during the invasion Orochimaru will have her friend acting as one of his elite guards. She wants me to get her to save her. Apparently she's an Uzumaki, judging from what she described, he said, getting a nod. So what are we going to do? Sakura asked, getting a raised eyebrow. Well, the Hokage is already preparing, so on our end we have to prepare, and where we're going we have 4 years worth of preparation to prepare for, and so shall dear Kin-chan, he said, getting a gasp from her. Why me? She asked, getting a raised eyebrow from Shadow and Wuya. You were targeted by your own village for whatever reasons Orochimaru had, and we won't allow the pedophile to use you. Besides, we've been wanting to add to the family and you're quite cute, Wuya said, making Naruto groan. What does she mean? Kin asked, getting a sigh from Shadow and Naruto. Naruto-kun here is the last of his clan Sakura, Hinata, Ino, and I am his fiancés or more, so Wuya and I or the others are still thinking it over. He's very nice and loving as well as loyal beyond measure, she said, causing the brunette to blush. How about we let her decide after the 4 months and go from there? Also, before we do anything, you're all going to need to be fitted with seals that will help with your training, Naruto said as the 2 older women grinned to the 4 younger, who gained an intimidated expression as Uya and Shadow made a clone each as they dragged them to an empty room. Scratching the head of a nearby tiger on the head, he mentally counted down 3, 2, 1. KYAH, he chuckled as he heard the combined screams from the 4 girls, remembering how that happened to him. 10 minutes later. Walking out of the room, the 4 were blushing with a bit of sweat on their foreheads, making him raise an eyebrow before they each kissed him, leaving him confused. What, not that a guy minds being kissed by 4 beautiful girls, but what just happened? He asked, getting a laugh from Shadow and Wuya. Well mate, you see they wouldn't sit still for us to place the necessary seals on them, so we put them under a deep illusion to get them to cooperate. I guess we used a really strong illusion, Shadow said, making him raise an eyebrow. And what was that illusion? Naruto asked, getting a chuckle. Well, it might have been your childhood and the night we shared when you graduated from the academy, and it's safe to say they want part of it, Wuya said, making stare at the 2 of them before sighing. Alright, we can let Hinata, Ino, and Sakura-chan's parents know they accepted the contract, and we can do the process in the training ground, so can we go? Naruto asked, getting a nod as they grabbed their bags while following him through the house. 00 Random Hall 00. So, nice, wall. Ino said, confused, looking at a wall in the basement that held a seal matrix along with various shelves containing jutsu of various elements, kenjutsu, genjutsu, fuinjutsu, and taijutsu, and even a small collection of space-time jutsu. The 3 chuckled, causing the 4 genin to look at them strangely before Naruto clarified, oh my sweet blonde, this wall is actually our passage to the training ground, so I hope you're ready, and you might want to brace yourself because the gravity is a bit denser there, and before anyone asks, there are copies of these scrolls in the training ground, so don't worry. How are we supposed to get in? Sakura asked when Naruto put his hand on the wall, making the seal to swirl around as the room was flooded with light, causing the 4 girls to cover their eyes, while the 3 who experienced this already just stared dead ahead. This is how, and you might want to watch your step. The first one is always a trip, Naruto said, making them look at the glowing portal as they followed after him while he and the others walked in as the portal closed behind them. 00 Special Training Ground 00. Ugh, Ino and the others groaned as they fell over each other, making Naruto chuckle standing in front of them. Yeah, like I said, the first step is always a trip, but why don't you all come and see your home for the following months, Naruto said as he helped them up, letting them gasp at the sight of it all. The entire area was a bamboo forest spread as far as their eyes can see, with large mountain ranges and waterfalls and streams spread around the forest. What really awed them was the massive compound in the center of the forest that was slightly smaller than the one in the real world. We're going to lead you to the bedroom we will all be sharing, Naruto said, getting a nod from them as they followed behind him. Running what he said through their heads, Ino said quietly, with the others catching on, share a room, all of us? Letting out a short laugh, Shadow said, well, of course, as a ninja you have to be prepared at all times. That means we eat, sleep, and bathe together. Besides, we saw how you 3 looked at him when he came from his shower, and you'll want to see more of his body and get used to him seeing your bodies naked. Not wanting to say anything, the 4 just blushed, followed after their target of affection. 00 Duplicate of the Namikaze/Uzumaki Compound 00. Like the real home, Naruto and the girls gave Sakura and the others the grand tour of the compound while having them know that it is exactly like the one in the real world, with minor changes such as there are only a few rooms that are actual bed chambers and indoor bathing areas. The rest of the rooms were vaults for various scrolls on various elemental jutsu, taijutsu, genjutsu, kenjutsu and fuinjutsu, as well as training weapons. Showing them around, he also led them to an outdoor bath which the girls gushed over due to the large size of one of the larger lakes in the village. Having them place their bags in the room, Naruto led them outside in the courtyard. Alright girls, this is the lowdown for training. The first month is physical training, meaning from sunup to sundown with breaks you will be doing physical training with the gravity and resistance seals. Tonight when I mark you all as Uzumaki, your reserves will grow to match my own, while tomorrow from then on I will have your clones practice all forms of chakra control without rest through the months to improve control over your soon-to-be massive reserves. For month 2 you'll be learning jutsu for your affinities and mastering said jutsu and ryatsu training, Naruto explained, getting them to nod. Naruto-kun, I don't know my affinity, Kin said, getting a raised eyebrow from him before he grabbed a chakra paper from his pocket, giving it to her as she pushed it into the sheet, causing everyone to look on in surprise. The paper split the paper in 4 pieces. The left square burned completely while the right to crinkle into a ball with the left got wet, making Naruto whistle, while 3 affinities and a sub-affinity from Suna and 2 from Kiri. Did you know your parents, Kin-chan? She shook her head, telling them she never knew her parents because they died in an accident, getting a sad expression from Naruto and the others. What about months 3 and 4? Hinata asked, getting a grin from Wuya and Shadow, while Naruto gave them a sympathetic look before schooling it. For month 3 we're doing taijutsu training for you, Sakura and Ino. The both of you only have the academy taijutsu and it's not exactly the best for you from all the time in the since the academy your bodies just didn't work with it. For month 4 you can pick some form of art to work on, either improve your genjutsu, learn kenjutsu. You will all also learn fuinjutsu just for practicality, but anything you want to work on in your downtime you're free to do so as you please, he responded, getting a nod as he turned to Shadow, who nodded, putting her hand in the ram seal, causing the gravity and resistance seals to activate, making the 4 collapse to the ground. Right now the seals are at 3 times Earth's gravity, while the world now is double Earth's gravity, so you're working with 5 times Earth's gravity pushing down on you as the resistance seals are at double power, he said, getting a growl from Sakura. You could have told us as a warning, Naruto-kun, she said, getting a shrug. True, so here's another one until your bodies adjust. We're doing things lightly, so for starters you'll do 5 sets of 10 push-ups, sit-ups, leg lifts, pull-ups, squat thrusts, crunches and 6 laps around the training grounds. We'll break for lunch in the afternoon, which is in 5 hours, and pick it back up from there. Once you finish we'll have dinner. I'll give you all a massage in the hot spring to relax, where I'll mark you so your reserves can grow through the night, he said, getting wide eyes from the girls before they started with Naruto, Wuya and Shadow sitting on the porch watching. It is truly amazing how motivated a person can get with the proper incentive, isn't it? Wuya said, getting a nod from the 2 as they watched Ino and the others slowly adjust to the seals moving faster than before due to their determination. So Naruto-kun, do we get a massage? Shadow asked sultrily, getting a nod from him. Of course, yours is tonight after they tire themselves out, Naruto said, kissing them both on the cheek as they continued to watch the 4 train. 00 that evening. 00. Ugh, my muscles hurt, Ino moaned, wearing a purple 2-piece bikini while Hinata and Sakura wore similar swimwear, except Sakura's was a light pink color and Hinata's was a lavender color, as they all laid on the smooth stone floor of the open-air outdoor bath with a clone of Naruto giving them a massage. Screw my muscles, I didn't even think it was OPP possible for my hair to hurt, Kin said, borrowing a bikini from Ino which was black in color, lying on her back with her Naruto giving her a full body massage, fighting her hormones as were the others and failing miserably. Oh, but this is so nice, Hinata said, shaking, feeling her Naruto's hands before they all felt a bite on their necks, pushing them all over the edge when they stopped, with the original Naruto letting them enjoy the feeling. He saw a dragon forming a circle with 2 circles inside it appear on their necks. Alright, you 4, get in the bath and be in bed early tonight. You got more training coming and you're training in chakra control, Naruto said, leaving them in the bath as they sighed in relief. 00 the next day. 00. Ugh, is it me or did it get harder to move today? Ino asked, getting a nod from her fellow genin. That's to be expected, Ino-chan. The gravity and resistance seals adjust themselves automatically now. As you all understand, when I marked you all as my mates you became partial Uzumaki due to me injecting my chakra into you to make your reserves swell. If you believe the stigma about the connection between the body and chakra reserves, then after the training is complete your bodies will show it, he said, making them smile before he shook his head. Now that you all understand, I want you all to perform the shadow clone jutsu. Make as many as you all can, Naruto advised, getting a nod from them as the area was flooded with over 100,000 clones of each, making him nod before he, Wuya and Shadow made some clones. Good, now I want you all to split up into groups, and once you make even groups our clones will guide you to a part of the forest to train your control, Naruto said, getting a nod from them as they formed large groups which were led into the forest by a clone. Now that they're gone through the entirety of the month they will be training in chakra control without stop, and since you have adjusted to the seals you will be doing double what you have before, he said, getting moans. Hey, no complaining. I had to do 13 years of this at the regular time frame with more difficult experiences. Trust me, this is a light modification of it because I was doing all the training you are with a boulder attached to me, he said, making them turn to Wuya and Shadow, who nodded. It's true he did, and he did the same for chakra control as you all are now, Shadow said with a grin, making them gulp. So let's get to work, shall we, because at the end of the month we'll evaluate your progress from where you stood to where you are now every month. So when we leave for this month I will send a report to your parents, Ino-chan, Hinata-chan, Sakura-chan, as you will all gain your own copy of the report to see your progress, Naruto said, getting a nod as they began today's training with greater progress than yesterday. I think you just lit one hell of a fire under their asses, huh, Naruto-kun? Wuya asked, getting a nod from him as he smiled lightly. Yeah, I think so, Naruto, stretching before taking a seat on the porch before ducking under a kick while grabbing a fist. Of course we can't let you fall behind now, can we? Shadow said as they jumped into the field, getting in a 2-on-1 spar against Naruto. 0-0 End of the 1 month period. 0-0. Alright, you 4, time to leave and rest. If you wish to see and spend time with your parents feel free to do so, and note that over the next 3 months you will continue physical training, but we will focus primarily on what I mentioned earlier, Naruto said, grinning, seeing the 4 cheer after dispelling their clones. Over the month the 4 had grown strength and speed-wise, being faster than Lee was releasing the gates like he did over the first month. Sakura, who was excited, asked, Naruto-kun, how much have we grown over the training? Seeing their excitement, Naruto chuckled as he pulled out 4 scrolls that had their names on them, which they took as the 4 read. Ino Yamanaka post first month training, physical fitness, mid-genin, stamina, low genin, chakra reserves, high genin, low chunin, chakra control, low chunin. Ino Yamanaka pre-first month training, physical fitness, high umbu, stamina, high umbu, chakra reserves, 9 tails, chakra control, high kage. Over the period of the first month Ino Yamanaka has shown growth in her physical training as she trained in her reflexes, flexibility, strength and stamina. That is to say, in the beginning she and the others had a bit of trouble keeping up with the physical aspect, but quickly grew into it, as have their reserves. At the next month we will have her work on her jutsu, so if you could be so kind as to lend Ino-chan some clan scrolls to learn from to improve on the Yamanaka jutsu. Sakura Haruno post first month training, physical fitness, low genin, stamina, low genin, chakra reserves, low genin, mid genin, chakra control, mid-genin. Sakura Haruno pre-first month training, physical fitness, high umbu, stamina, high umbu, chakra reserves, 9 tails, chakra control, high kage. Over the month Sakura had grown from her beginning as a leaf kunoichi and has grown into a respectable on at that. She takes to the physical training with determination and perseverance. Like her reserves, her strength continued to grow. Hinata Hyuga post first month training, physical fitness, high genin, low chunin, stamina, low chunin, chakra reserves, high chunin, chakra control, low chunin. Hinata Hyuga pre first month training, Physical fitness, low Sannin. Stamina, high Umbu. Chakra reserves, 9 tails. Chakra control, high Kage. Since the preliminaries, Hinata had a hidden strength that was waiting to be unleashed, which she had during her fight with her cousin Niji. That is to say, her strength doesn't just lie in her Dojutsu or her Taijutsu. She shows a great promise for the medicinal arts. When Sakura cut herself one day, she used a medicinal salve created by Hinata. Kintsuchi post first month training. Physical fitness, low Chunin. Stamina, high Genin. Chakra reserves, high Chunin. Chakra control, mid Chunin high Chunin. Kintsuchi pre first month training. Physical fitness, high Umbu. Stamina, mid Umbu high Umbu. Chakra reserves, 9 tails. Chakra control, high Kage. Over the month in the training ground, you've grown physically as opposed to where you stood prior. Your stamina and physical strength grew in spades, as have your reflexes and flexibility. You've also grown to see us as family instead of walking on eggshells, unlike when you first came here feeling like you would in the hell Odo was like, as you said, and we have grown to see you as family. As they read it, they all had a grin on their face, while Kin hugged Naruto with a few tears after not having a family before. She really felt accepted here as he patted her on the head with a kiss on the forehead, making her blush before grinning. Now that we're all feeling better, how about we go? I can prepare lunch for everyone while you all go home and spend time with your families, Naruto said as they nodded, following him out of the portal. 00 Real World 00. Alright, we're back and I'm going to get started on lunch, but for now you three go head home, see your parents and give them the reports, let them know how you're doing and spend some time with them, Naruto said, getting a nod from them as they ran up out the stairs and out the house. My, aren't they the excitable ones, Naruto said, amused, with Kin and the others nodding before they shrugged. Any ideas for lunch? I'm open for suggestions, Naruto asked, getting a shrug from them all as he copied walking up the stairs. I guess I'll just make what comes to mind. Besides, letters should have been sent telling us the round setups for the finals are, Naruto said, walking to the living room when a leopard sat in front of him with a piece of paper in its mouth, making him raise an eyebrow before patting its head, getting a purr, allowing it to walk away. I guess those are those finals pairings? Kin asked, getting a nod from Naruto as he sighed, reading the names. Round 1, Sakura Haruno vs. Shikamaru Nara. Round 2, Hinata Hyuga vs. Sabaka no Kankuro. Round 3, Sasuke Uchiha vs. Sabaka no Gaara. Round 4, Shino Aburame vs. Sabaka no Temari. Naruto gets the bye and faces the winner of round 3. Surprised, Naruto said, odd, I could have sworn one of your former teammates was in the finals. Looking over her shoulders, she looked for his name only to get a curious expression as Uya said, maybe Orochimaru got him. I mean, he tried to get Kin, wouldn't be surprised if he got her teammates at some point prior to this. They shrugged as Kin said, well, no skin off my teeth, they're sick bastards who've done some pretty unforgivable things before all this, so I ain't crying over their graves if anyone's expecting it. Nobody is expecting it, sweetie, we're just curious as to why Orochimaru could possibly want either you or your teammates, Shadow said as they saw Naruto think. Ryo, for your thought, Naruto-kun? She asked, making the red head turn. Oh, I was thinking back some time ago while you girls were training me, I found some scrolls in the Kenjutsu section and I remember it involving sacrifices to work. I just can't remember the name, but I know it is by no means good, Naruto said seriously as he continued to think it over. You still got 3 months to think it over, so you're in no serious rush. Naruto don't want to overthink things and end up missing something, Kin said, getting a nod from him as he sighed. Yeah, I suppose you're right, but it just frustrates me to no end. I mean, I swear the jutsu that fits what Orochimaru is aiming for is literally on the tip of my tongue, but I can't get it, he said, scratching his head before feeling a tap on his shoulder. Turning, he was about to speak before Kin's lips covered his own before he closed his eyes, grabbing her waist as they deepened a kiss, smelling her pent-up arousal before separating. Did that help in any way? The former Odo Kunoichi asked sultrily, getting a dazed expression before shaking his head. Why, yeah, that helped get my focus off of the jutsu I was thinking of. but I am seriously hungry and I know you all haven't eaten yet. I'm sure Hinata is eating with her dad and sister while Sakura and Ino eat with their parents for lunch. I just have to think of dinner, Naruto said when Kin raised her hand, still seated straddling his lap. Yes, to the brunette sitting on my lap, Naruto said, getting a nod. Why not something light and simple, she said, getting a shrug from the others as he nodded, kissing her again, letting her get off. Alright, I'll get started on dinner, you all relax, Naruto said, going into the kitchen, putting a rag on his shoulder, going through the fridge. Handsome, smart, strong, and a good cook. Is there anything that could ruin this? Kin asked, getting a negative from the two watching him waltz around the kitchen. Nah, he's the perfect package. He also knows how to clean and do laundry, Wuya said, getting a nod from Shadow. My clothes never feel better until he cleans and presses my panties and clothes, Shadow supported, getting a raised eyebrow from Kin as she turns to Wuya. He cleans and presses panties? She asked rhetorically, getting a nod followed by two smiles. Don't knock it till you try, Kin. You'll find you'll like how the creases makes them feel tighter, more comfortable than before, Wei said, watching Naruto sitting at the counter looking over the ingredients. 004 hours later. We're back. Everyone heard as they saw Ino, Sakura and Hinata walk back into the compound with several bags, while Hinata placed a bundle on the table, making him raise an eyebrow. Father was happy to hear about my progress and had asked for some of the side branch members to make some cinnamon rolls for you as thanks, she said, getting a grin. That was nice of him. Dinner is ready, so help yourselves, Naruto said, putting the rolls in the middle of the table with steak, salad, and soup for everyone to eat. So how was time with your families? Kin asked, getting positive reviews from the others, telling them their parents were proud of them and how well they've done. Well, that's good to hear, but I have to ask, have either of you decided on a skill to learn during the 4th month? Naruto asked, getting a nod from them all. Sakura and I wanted to take up medical ninjutsu, Hinata said, getting a nod from him as he wrote some notes down. I was thinking on taking up Fuinjutsu. It seems interesting to learn from what I've seen you all do, Kin said, getting a nod from him as he wrote it down. I was thinking on learning Fuinjutsu and Kenjutsu. It would be good to know something than just using jutsu and swinging my fists, Ino said, getting a nod from him as he wrote it down. Hinata and Sakura during month 4 will learn medical ninjutsu. Kin during month 4 will learn Fuinjutsu. Ino during month 4 will learn Fuinjutsu and Kenjutsu. Oh, the round pairings have been made and these are the rounds, Naruto said, pulling the paper out of his pocket, letting them read. So I'm facing the puppet master, yay, Hinata said, grabbing a roll as she finished her meal, much like the others who enjoyed the taste. I get your lazy teammate Ino, Sakura said, getting a sigh from the blonde. Just be careful of his shadows, Ino advised, getting a nod from the pinkette. Naruto putting the paper away. Alright everyone, it's late, let's get some shut-eye. Tomorrow we're going back in, he said, getting a nod from them as he created some clones to do the dishes. If you're all going to make your move tonight, I suggest you do so and prepare yourselves. He's on the large side, Wuya said, getting a nod from them, blushing as they all left for a room. Falling back, Sakura collapsed on top of him, with Kin doing the same, while Hinata and Ino curled into him as he pulled the covers over them as they all fell into a state of silence, letting sleep claim them. 00 The next morning, start of the 2nd month. 00 So girls, you enjoy yourselves last night? Wuya asked, nursing a cup of coffee with Shadow, getting blushes from the girls seeing Naruto leaning against the counter with a cup of coffee as well, before flashing them a grin. Why yeah, it was amazing, but we might need to practice more so we can go longer, Ino said, getting a nod from the others. Oh well, no rush on your part. Are you all ready for this month's training? Wuya said, getting a nod from them. What was this month again? Jutsu and Ryatsu training, right? What is Ryatsu? Ino asked, getting a contemplative look from the three. Well, Ryatsu is the spiritual aspect of chakra. By separating it from the physical portion of chakra and drawing the energy from the world, you can do various things with it, from defensive techniques to offensive to healing. When we reach the training ground we'll do the same you all did last month, having clones work on the Ryatsu and Jutsu. You all will continue on physical exercise and getting into a fighting style, Naruto said, getting a nod from them. Alright Naruto-kun, they said, making him smile before he remembered. Oh Ino-chan, you said you wanted to learn a weapon for Kenjutsu, right? He asked, getting a nod. Any idea what type of sword you want to use? A nodachi, chikudo, okatana, or a katana? Naruto asked, getting a negative. Well, we can check during one of your breaks and see what fits you the best, he said, getting a nod from the blonde. You all ready? He asked as they followed after him down into the basement. Of course, they said, getting a grin. Excellent, let's get started then, he said as they walked through the portal once again.